Hey guys, it's Alex. I'm here with another book haul. The fourth of my 5 original boxes. I'm not entirely certain that I can actually lift this box. It's not so much that there are more books in it than the others, although there might be slightly more. But it's a taller box and also a little bit more fragile. I cannot actually lift it up to show you the bottom of it because it's a tall box. It's sitting on my lap right now, and I really can't lift it any higher. So let's get started. The first book I picked up is True Colors by Kristen Hanna. This is a women's fiction novel about 3 sisters who sort of band together after their mom dies. And they have a father who's not so much on the kind and loving part, but they all have their lives and their own personal problems and their poor relationship with him, and they just become really close with each other. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this author, never heard anyone ever talk about it, but honestly, I tend to like most women's fiction books. Most of them aren't profound and life-changing, but they're usually pretty interesting. And the next book I picked up is The Likeness by Tana French. I read one of her other books. I think it was In the Woods. I read In the Woods and I didn't like it. But I did see a description of The Likeness at the back of In the Woods. I figured I'd give it a try. A lot of what I didn't like about In the Woods was the plot and the story itself and the main character. So, because all of these things have changed, I'm thinking perhaps I might like The Likeness. I do want to give it a chance, and it's a thriller, and I didn't hate In the Woods. It just, I really did not like the ending, and the main character was super annoying. This looks interesting. A murder cop in Dublin, I believe, finds a body who's basically exactly like her, has her face, has an ID with her name on it, and I don't really know. I guess she investigates the murder and is why? Why is this me? I'm hoping I will like this better, and if not, I bought it in a box, so it's not like I wasted much money on it, or time. It's a thriller, it'll be a pretty quick read. And I got another Faulkner book, Light in August. I have literally no idea what this is about. There's no description on the back. There's just a list of other books that have also been published by this company. So, Light in August. If you have any idea what it's about, let me know because I'm too lazy to look it up. I also picked up a mystery book. As you can see, it's a hardback and there's no dust jacket, which means there's no description of this book. All I know is that it is called The Lemon Orchard by Luann Rice, as you can see on the spine. I have literally no idea what this is about or what genre it is or anything. Honestly, I just couldn't resist the urge of a complete mystery book, although The Lemon Orchard makes it kind of sound like women's fiction, which I'm down with. It's just fun and exciting to pick up a book that you know literally nothing about apart from the title and the author's name. The English major in me made me pick up this book. It is Great American Prose Poems, edited by David Lehman, and it's from Poe to the present. Prose poems are interesting. They're pretty much the only poems I can stand, and they're more like lyric essays kind of, which I do absolutely adore. I will probably flip through this book and not actually straight read it. I'm very iffy on poetry because whenever I pick up a poetry book or collection, I wind up liking about 3 of the poems a lot, and then the rest of the book is just a waste of time for me. To go along in that vein, I got The Best American Short Stories, 1999, edited by Amy Tan. I like anthologies like these. I have a couple on my shelf of the best essays, the best other short stories from other years. It's just a lot of short stories in here, and hopefully there's some really good ones. I got a really cute little book called Me Without You. It's basically a little comic book, and every comic is a page, and it's Me Without You is blank without blank. And it's just it's really cute and silly, and I don't know, this was probably a dumb book to get, but it made me happy. Me Without You is like Mowgli without Baloo, and Shubi without Dew. It's just full of stupid things like that, and it made me giggle, and if something makes me giggle, I'll likely buy it. Another book I picked up was Every Soul a Star by Wendy Mass. This is either a young adult or a middle grade book about 3 kids at a campground who are dealing with difficult things and their lives are about to be changed. I don't know what this is about, but I mostly picked it up because Wendy Mass is the author who wrote A Mango-Shaped Space, and I absolutely adore that book. That is one of the few books that I will read and consistently cry my eyes out. There are probably a handful of books that can make me sob, and that's one of them. That's a book that's like straight ugly cry. So I'm a little bit concerned about this book, but at the same time, I really, really hope I love it. Making the Run by Heather Hinson. I think this is YA about a girl who is an alcoholic. It's got one of the descriptions on the back that's just a paragraph excerpt from the book, so I don't really know what it's about. But the voice in it, in that short paragraph, sounded really interesting and really different. It's very physical, and it's a description of her drinking too much whiskey, and it just seems like it might be really beautifully written. More Nazi Germany books. Huzzah! I don't realize how much I like those books until I do a haul, or I do several hauls, and realize that a disproportionate number of the books are set or about Nazi Germany. It's set in like 2 different time periods. There's a girl in Nazi Germany who's supposed to marry a Nazi officer who I think she's in love with, but then a Jewish boy shows up and she's like, oh no, Nazis might actually be wrong. Which is like what every other book about Nazi Germany is. And then it's also set in the present day about a girl who's maybe her granddaughter in Texas who's dealing with things, and I don't know. I didn't really read the back. I got like halfway through the first paragraph and was like, ooh, Nazi Germany, let's give it a try. Another mystery book. This is called Keeper by Andrea Gillies. I don't know what this is about, but hopefully Keeper refers to like a goalkeeper. I would love if this was soccer related. That's what I was hoping for when I picked it up. But again, mystery book. Hardback, no dust jacket. I have no idea. I also picked up a memoir called The Memory Palace by Mira Bartok. And this is about a woman whose mother had schizophrenia, and she wound up having to basically flee and hide from her mother for a good portion of her life. And they only reconnected when her mother was dying. And then this is sort of written after her mother's death, as she's sort of like coming to terms with their relationship and all the negative things that happened over the years, but also the fact that she was still her mother and she loved her. A second memoir I picked up was The Color of Water, a black man's tribute to his white mother by James McBride. I don't really know anything about this book. I just picked it up because it was a memoir and it's about race, religion, and identity. I'm thinking it looks really interesting. I've heard of this before, and I've heard really positive things about it. So hopefully all those things are true, and I wind up loving this. My first James Patterson book, that's only half James Patterson, is Invisible by James Patterson and David Ellis. I see James Patterson's name on everything. He's one of those authors that no matter what thrift store I go to, no matter when I go, I always see at least 7 books by him. I've never read anything by him. I just know he writes thrillers, and this is about a woman who's an FBI researcher, and she decides that all these random cases are linked, and it becomes like an obsession. And I'm assuming because there's a book about it, they actually are all linked, and there's a crazy serial killer out there that they have to catch. But it seemed like a pretty like easy standard book to start off James Patterson with, even though it's co-written. I don't actually remember this next book at all. It's Scruples by Judith Krantz, and it's apparently about a woman in high society who goes from like, fat, awkward misfit of a very rich family to like the beautiful A-list crowd who gets more famous and like more attention, I think. And it looks like one of those like trashy romance / drama books. Maybe it's better than it looks, or maybe I was just in like a trashy, easy read mood when I picked this up. I do really enjoy these books sometimes. They're just like really fun, easy reads. When I read something like this, I'm only looking to be entertained. And maybe it'll be surprisingly good. I actually don't know. Triptych, I think that's how you would pronounce that. Triptych by Karin Slaughter. She's a thriller author who I've seen a lot of books by her, sort of in the same vein as Lisa Gardner, but this is about a serial killer in Atlanta and the cops / feds / law enforcement of some kind who track them down, who probably have a lot of problems of their own. I don't know. I didn't really read the back. I just saw her name and was like, I should know something by her. I'll try her out. hopefully I like her. I also picked up A Walk Across the Sun by Corbin Addison. This is about two children in India who are kidnapped from school and sold into the sex trade, and also about a man from DC who ends up getting involved in human rights, and he hears about them and I guess makes it his mission to save them. And from what I've read about the author, this seems kind of self-insert and very, very loosely based on his life. And I'm a little bit hesitant about a white man from the southern bit of America who just writes about sexual slavery across the world. But maybe it won't be weird and fetishizing, because if not, this could be a really interesting book. This cover is the main reason I picked it up. I don't even know if I read the description, but the cover is absolutely gorgeous. It's really beautiful, the way it's drawn and everything, and that's most of the reason I picked it up. Not a mystery book, actually. This is Slaughterhouse-5 by Kurt Vonnegut, which I don't actually own. I'm holding this up like there's anything for y'all to see. It's just a black book. But I really should own this. It's one of those books that, I want to read it in theory, but I'm not actually sure I want to read it in practice. But maybe at some point I can just, make myself read it, because I think I should. Let me know if you've read it and if you think I should read it, because it sounds intimidating. Would that be the right word? Feels intimidating. I'm very intimidated by this tiny, plain, black book. I also got two books that I'm very hesitant on reading. I'm not quite certain that I want to read them or that I should read them. The first one is Enchantment by Orson Scott Card. He wrote Ender, the Ender series. Ender Chronicles, Ender something. Anyway, he wrote the popular, Ender's books. I've never read them, but I've always kind of wanted to because I know so many people love and adore them. But at the same time, Orson Scott Card is such a crap human being in so many different ways. He's just one of those people that is, so horrifying you almost think he has to be a parody, but he's not. I don't want to support him in any way, shape, or form, but I also want to read his books from, a literature standpoint, because if they're amazing, I want to be able to appreciate their amazingness, but I'm not sure I can separate the work from the artist, and I definitely wouldn't buy any of his books new, or in any way that, got money to him. But I kind of want to read them, and this is Enchantment. I don't know what this is about. I might give it a try, and I might not. I'm very, very torn on this. Really let me know in the comments what you think, because I'm not sold on reading it yet, or anything by him, but I also kind of want to. So, do you think it's worth it because he's such a terrible human being? And if you haven't heard that he's a terrible human being, Google it real quick. You can find a lot of stuff real easily, and a lot of scary stuff, and a lot of stuff that doesn't seem like something any human would say or should say, but he did, and I don't know. I'm very, very torn. The other book that makes me uncomfortable, I guess would be the correct word, is Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. Not because I heard that Atticus Finch is racist in this book, because, it was, the 60s, the 50s, of course he was racist, he was a white man. Anti-racism back then is very, very different than what it is now. I heard a lot of things when this book was first announced that made it seem kind of sketch. Harper Lee only ever published To Kill a Mockingbird. That was her only book, and she sort of lived a very reclusive life. And she had a sister or a cousin or something who was a lawyer and also her protector who kind of kept her hidden away from the media and didn't let people bother her and sort of took care of all her things. And then that woman died. I'm sorry if this is very vague. I was reading and looking at all this stuff right when this book was announced, so it's been a little while. But that woman died, and a few months after her death, and Harper Lee's in a nursing home of questionable mental health, she might be fine, she might not. This woman dies, and a few months after her death, they announced that they have discovered an old manuscript that's been lost all these years, and they're gonna publish it, and Harper Lee's totally on board, and maybe that is all true. It could all be true, but it seems like really sketch timing, and I've read enough about that it makes me super uncomfortable, and it makes me very wary of this book. It really sounds like Harper Lee is being taken advantage of, but also maybe it really is just a coincidence. But that is awful sketch timing right there. I don't really know much about this book other than that it's like a prequel. I might read it. I picked it up because I saw it in the thrift store, and I definitely wouldn't like buy it new because I'm afraid of supporting like the publishing company taking advantage of this woman, which I don't know that they are, but it does make me kind of uncomfortable and I'm not sure. It's another one to think about. For a slightly lighter book and topic, I picked up The Time Between by Karen White. I don't really know what this is about. It's either women's fiction or thrillers or general fiction. I'm not really sure. It's about two sisters and they're dealing with the death of their father, and one sister is in a wheelchair and the other sister feels a lot of guilt over that and kind of blames herself, I guess. And there's also some tie-in to 1944 Hungary because I really like books about or related to Nazi Germany, and that's pretty close. I don't think I actually realized that when I initially picked this up though, because that's like the fourth paragraph down in the description, and I usually only get about halfway through the first one. Mystery book number 3. It is called Behind Closed Doors by Susan R. Sloan. This is a pretty book though. It's like really soft and looks like it's in really good shape. And Behind Closed Doors makes it sound like a thriller, but I might be biased because I think the B.A. Paris book is also called Behind Closed Doors and that was a thriller. So this could be a romance, or it could be women's fiction, or general fiction, or a great many things. It sounds contemporary. Maybe. It is a mystery. I like mystery books. They're fun. They're exciting. I have no idea what this is, but it could be really, really good. Could push me outside my comfort zone. A nonfiction book, Women Who Love Men Who Kill. It's about the men who are in prison for murder who get women as pen pals who like obsess over them and fall in love with them and then wish to marry them sometimes, and it's sort of about the psychology behind that. Maybe it's good. It looks like the kind of thing that might be like more sensationalist and more like headline-y than actual thought-provoking insights, but potentially not. Potentially it could be really interesting and I could learn something. It's always kind of a crapshoot when you find books like this in the thrift store. Like, is it good or is it trash and that's why someone threw it away? Who knows? The final book I picked up is a little different. It is The Kept by James Scott. It's a historical fiction novel set in 1897 about a woman who's a midwife who I believe goes across town to like help deliver a baby and then returns and her family is dead or missing. It's very vague in the description, but it said crime has ripped her family apart. It's about her and her 12-year-old son, and then her 12-year-old son going into adulthood and secrets and drama and despair. I have no idea. I have literally no idea what this is. But I don't read a lot of historical fiction, and I don't have a lot of historical fiction. And there aren't really a lot of historical fiction that call to me when I read them. Like, it's not a genre I gravitate towards, but this seemed really interesting, so I decided I will give it a try. And that is my massive book haul. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, or what your thoughts are on them, especially on whether or not I should read Ghost at a Watchman and the Orson Scott Card book, because I'm very, very torn on those, and those would be easy books to just, like, quietly dump at a thrift store and pretend like I never got them and never support the author or not just the author, but the author/publisher, depending on the case. I would really like other people's insights on that, and hopefully not buy any more books for a very long time, because I have enough for the rest of my life, I think. But that is it for this video. Bye, guys.